The following program is paid for and presented by John DeMasi. The opinions expressed are not those of Town Square Media or station advertisers.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Talk with a Purpose, the show that promises to deliver a good program, no matter what the circumstance. Snow, sleet, rain, whatever. Good to have you with us again for, as I said, another edition of Talk with a Purpose. I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you along. Every Saturday we're here, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, also heard on 1450 AM, and also heard online at WPGTalkRadio.com. Well, it's just you and me today for another 3 hours. And we have, do you think we have anything to talk about? I say that every week, but every week we have something to talk about. So we'll get into Biden and other things. Trump liner sneakers. Here's your homework for today. You find out who's selling the Trump sneakers in our area. And I'm going to run over and I'm not going to buy them. No, I mean, it's $400? Oh, whatever. We'll get into that a little bit later on. I wanted to briefly comment, and it's something that happened on last week's show. As I have told you, you may remember and you may not, but Frank is our post-show analysis. He does that and does a really good job, I think. And it really is involved, and it's a lot of work to me. I just really appreciate that he does that. But I wanted to thank everyone for listening, and for those who call in, I thank you as well. By the way, the few call in, but the majority just listen, and that's okay. But I'm just grateful to have you there, because without you, and I say this at the end of every show, without you, there's no show. I mean, who am I going to talk to? Myself? Chris? I mean, we can do that anytime. But the point is, and Frank pointed this out, that a situation happened where a caller had expressed concerns about treatment he received on not on this show, but on a show.
Good, Craig, how are you?
And it was sort of like, how can I put this? A bully who goes in the schoolyard and brags about how he bullied someone else. So I just wanted to say that will never happen on this show. And I've always prided myself on fair treatment. There's been a few times where I've yelled at people, but it's few and far between.
Thank you, sir.
And I could count on one hand the times that happened. But I just wanted to say it's a matter of handling situations. And I thank Frank for saying what he said. And really, someday I'll share the long email with you, but it's pretty thorough. So just wanted to say that. And thanks, as always, for listening. On another note, many times I've heard Seth Grossman speak about the accomplishments of African Americans, particularly in Atlantic County and Atlantic City. The press this week had a story of 3 African American women and their contributions to the black beauty industry. And their names were Annie Turnbow Malone, Madam C.J. Walker, and Sarah Spencer Washington, who is a former Atlantic City resident. For the purposes of time, I'm going to concentrate on Washington. She passed away at the age of 63 in 1953. And I was thinking about this. I was 3 years old. Jeez. She was a black millionaire who founded the Apex News and Hair Company in 1919 in Atlantic City. She parlayed her line of beauty and her hair products into international cosmetology schools. I mean, this is all over the world, which gave thousands of black women financial independence, and it helped them own their own salons. In 1919, an amazing accomplishment. There's a documentary on Sarah Spencer Washington, and it's available on Amazon Prime, which I don't get, but there's a million streaming services. Listen, if you had to buy them all, it would cost you another $200 a month. But anyway, if you have Amazon Prime and you're so inclined, it would do you well to watch this story, the Sarah Spencer Washington story. The interesting thing, and I found this very, very interesting, is that all of this occurred in 1919, 105 years ago. You think there was prejudice, there was racial divide. People say there is today, but 1919? And I believe around that time, women just got the right to vote, or somewhere around there. But it was a totally different time. And what it says here about not only African Americans, but about everybody, that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And many times there are odds against you. You think Sarah Spencer Washington had some odds against her? You think? A black woman starting her own business? So, I mean, it's really, when you look at that and you say, that's really an accomplishment. And I really wanted to say this because it really is a lesson for all of us today that still in this country, yeah, we have problems. We all know what the problems are. But you can achieve anything you want. And look at myself. I mean, there was a kid from Northeast Philadelphia whose parents were middle class or maybe even lower middle class. And I didn't have a clue about radio. Yeah, I turned the radio on. Yeah, that's about what I knew about radio. But whatever career I've carved it out. But I've done that on my own. And I guess this is a message of encouragement, hope, because we hear so much negative today, and we'll certainly talk about negativity and a lot of the things that are prevalent today. But the point is that still, this is the greatest country in the world, and you can achieve anything you want to achieve. You just got to do it with hard work, dedication, perseverance, you name it, all of those things. And I just thought today it would be appropriate to kind of talk about that rather than all of the gloom and doom that we hear about today. But we'll get into a lot of other things in the news and stuff. But just wanted to kind of start on a positive note today. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We bring in the one and only Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, his website, libertyandprosperity.com. And Seth, I borrowed a page from your book of talking about Sarah Spencer Washington this morning.
Well, very good. Of course, we have, if you use our search engine on our libertyandprosperity.com site, you'll get a lot of details of that story. And I grew up in Atlantic City, and I did not hear of her until I heard Ralph Hunter, local black historian, talking about her when they were introducing Boardwalk Empire, the series, at the Tropicana Casino. And I was fascinated by that story. And I admire Sarah Spencer Washington's grandson, Royston Scott, who has who has put these movies together and is promoting the memory and the lessons of his grandmother. But you understand they're all going uphill because Atlantic City and the black community in Atlantic City, they don't fit the narrative that they want to teach in our woke American society, that America was a racist society, an evil society, a black person never had a chance. But here you have a 19-year-old black woman moves in from Virginia, Sarah Spencer Washington, opens up a small beauty parlor at I think it was Tennessee and Baltic Avenue, and she finds out that she can't sell her beauty products, or actually she doesn't have beauty products for African American hair and skin. So she wants to produce these products. She talks to some white pharmacist who suggests that she take courses at Columbia University, which she does, takes chemistry courses, develops a product, finds people to produce the product. The fact that Atlantic City had conventions from people all over the world coming here, and she started hiring people to sell her products back in their hometowns, and set up within 6 or 7 years a national network that made her a multimillionaire. Now, did she face discrimination? Of course she did. But she overcame that discrimination with work, with training, with skills, with planning, and taking advantage of our freedom and laws. And the thing that we keep forgetting about, that black Americans could not get into country clubs to play golf. Neither could Jews, by the way, and neither could many Italians. So Sarah Spencer Washington bought the ground to build the Pomona golf course, and she got the Fraser family to help landscape it and make it one of the finest golf courses in the area, so that you had golf courses open to all Americans. When the Miss America, not the Miss America beauty pageant, the Easter parade, when they used to have thousands of people come to Atlantic City to show off their finest, fashion and wear, and cash prizes were given out by the committee, and they were not giving prizes to the best dressed black couples. So she put together her own program and gave out prizes, bigger cash prizes for black Americans and white Americans. That's how she ended discrimination there, using initiative and economic power. But those stories are not convenient to be taught because they really show the goodness and greatness of America, where every ethnic group, Jewish, Irish, Polish, even they used to call the people, white Americans from the countryside, they called them hayseeds. Everybody faced discrimination, but you were always able to overcome that discrimination through hard work, education, talent, and so on. And that's what made America such a wonderful country.
Well, I knew you would embellish what I said, and good job.
Anyway, of course, what the news of the week is liberty and prosperity. Instead of talking about the news, we became the news during the past week. Craig Calloway spoke to us last Saturday. Jesse Waters of Fox News sent his camera crew down, and he did 2 segments Monday night. And I think everyone listening to me now should learn a teachable lesson of how news is made. We have the Craig Calloway presentation for 25 minutes on our website, libertyandprosperity.com. We also have it posted on our YouTube channel. We have a Liberty and Prosperity YouTube channel. And I invite every listener to look at what Craig Calloway said, what he said to us, and how Jesse Waters and his guest Newt Gingrich packaged what Craig Calloway said to us to promote a certain narrative. And, of course, the narrative, if you look at the Jesse Waters show, is that Craig Calloway is awful. He's a horrible thug, a criminal, a ballot stuffer. But Republicans have to do what he does to win elections. And just 3 days after Jesse Waters did his feature on Craig Calloway, when he was at our event in Summers Point, Laura Trump, the daughter-in-law of Donald Trump, she's being considered to head the Republican National Committee, and she promised that if she is picked to run the Republican Party, that she will organize the biggest ballot harvesting operation in American history. But how do you do that? And if you want to understand how to do ballot harvesting, you've got to watch that Craig Calloway video, because he gave a really teachable seminar as to what you have to do. Now, according to him, and I think anyone involved in politics, we know that there are many, many American citizens who are qualified to vote, but they're completely uninformed, couldn't care less about politics, don't care about government, don't care about voting. If left to themselves, they would never bother to waste 10 minutes to register to vote, and they'd never spend a half hour to actually go to the polls on Election Day. Now, until 40 years ago, most of these people didn't vote. Elections were decided by people who were informed, who read newspapers, who read books, who took the time to learn about the candidates they voted for. But that all changed starting in the 1980s, and it wasn't just Democrats. It was Tom Kaine and Christy Todd Whitman Republicans and President George Bush and Majority Leader of the Senate John McCain. They worked with Democrats to completely change the voting laws we had in this country for 200 years. And they made it so easy for anyone to vote without leaving their house. Just someone comes to their door, you fill out a form, you register to vote, someone brings a ballot to your house, you vote without leaving your kitchen table. And that means that our elections today are decided by people who don't know what's going on, don't care what's going on. Many have all sorts of disabilities. Many are under the influence of drugs. Many are senile. Many are too sick. But for whatever reason, the Republican and Democratic establishment said, we want these people to control our elections. Now, Jesse Waters called Craig Calloway a ballot stuffer. And his reporter, Johnny, showed up at Calloway's house and shoved a microphone in Calloway's house in his face and said, well, do you think it's okay to rig elections? Do you think it's okay to stuff ballot boxes? And, of course, Calloway just said, get out of my face, because he couldn't answer those questions on the air because he has pending charges against him. And his lawyer rightfully said, don't talk about the case until the case is over. But if you want to know Calloway's methods, you see that what he does has nothing to do with ballot stuffing. And I don't want to go to the whole thing, because it's obvious, a 25-minute video. But basically, Calloway began by saying, look, I reach voters because I have a big family. I have 13 brothers and sisters. I'm close to my family. And I make sure that every brother, sister, spouse, child, grandchild, in-laws, cousins, and any friend who comes to any of their houses gets registered to vote and votes on Election Day. And Calloway also worked as a business license inspector in Atlantic City for 20 years. And by doing that, he had to supervise everybody with a taxi license, everybody with a parking lot license, everyone with a store on the boardwalk. And many of them were immigrants, and who didn't speak English, and he worked with them. And he, where other inspectors would either shake them down or fine them, to look good like they're enforcing the law, Calloway worked, to help them comply with the law and make their businesses a success. So years later, they're grateful to Calloway. They vote for him. Their spouses vote for him. Their kids vote for him. Their cousins vote for him. So this is how he built it up. In many ways, if Calloway were Irish, you'd say he has the gift of the gab. He likes to talk to people, hear their stories, help them whenever he can. And that's the key to his success. And he also has, of course, a physical presence, which means he could walk around the projects in Atlantic City when a lot of other people won't. Nobody messes with him. So now the real question is, and he pointed out, this is what Republicans need to do to win elections. And Republicans, he said, are not doing it. But can Republicans do ballot harvesting like Democrats? And that's the issue that really was not discussed by Jesse Waters, but really needs to be discussed if Republicans want to be serious about winning elections. By the way, Calloway pointed out that when Jack Ciattarelli was running for governor, he had long talks with Ciattarelli and told him everything he told to us. And also Ciattarelli had opportunities to find, guys like Craig Calloway, who had been really betrayed by Democrats in Paterson, New Jersey, and other cities, who wanted to work with Cettarelli, but Cettarelli instead got these high-priced consultants to do these fancy ads, and we all know Cettarelli lost, as did Bob Hugin, who ran for the U.S. Senate 6 years ago, did the same thing. So we have that problem, that Republicans don't want to deal with ballot harvesters like Craig Calloway. But the other sort of bigger thing is that Republicans are not as good in politics as Democrats. And there's a very simple reason for that. Most Republicans don't like politics and don't need politics to succeed in life. Most people don't want government jobs. Most Republicans don't want government handouts. But if you do depend on government jobs and government handouts, you're going to pay attention to politics and you're going to be active. So it's very hard to get people who are just not used to seeing as elections and politics and getting out the vote and dealing with all these people. It doesn't come naturally. So it's something Republicans have to overcome. So that's one problem. And then, of course, the other big problem goes back to that guy I talked about all the time, Wilfredo Pareto, political economy. In other words, getting uninformed and unmotivated voters to vote for your candidate is very, very, very expensive. In other words, it's not expensive to get an informed voter to vote. You write a letter to the editor. You go on talk radio. You don't have to spend a lot of money to persuade an involved, informed voter who to vote for. But to get somebody who will never vote, doesn't read a newspaper, doesn't read a book, doesn't watch anything political on TV, will not go out and waste 30 minutes to vote, it's very expensive to reach those people. So if you're going to invest all that money to get those people to vote to win an election, you need to get a payoff in the end by getting some contract, getting some job, getting some program. And that's the real thing that we're up against. So anyway, a lot of teachable moments, but to see for yourself, I really think everybody should compare the video of Craig Calloway speaking to us last Saturday and the video of how Jesse Waters and Newt Gingrich sort of spun what was said by Craig Calloway.
Boy, you really got a lot of mileage out of that.
Well, we did. Of course, we missed the Atlantic County Republicans. Jesse Kurtz of Atlantic City was the only Republican official or leader who came to our event last Saturday. So I guess the half-inch of snow only seemed to affect Atlantic County Republicans. Didn't seem to stop anyone else from being there. But that's an issue for another day.
What else is going on today?
Well, today the Atlantic County Republican Party is having their convention at the Carriage House in Galloway this Saturday. Of course, if you're listening on Sunday, it was yesterday, and they decide who gets on the regular Republican ticket. And each party picks its candidates in a June primary election. And that's how you see who the Democratic candidate is and who the Republican candidate is. Republicans have a convention and Democrats have a convention. So what does the convention do? The convention decides who goes on the regular Republican or regular Democrat column of candidates. And as you may know from 2 years ago, I learned the hard way that if you're not in the same row or same column as all the other Republican candidates, you will appear in what they call ballot Siberia. They will put your name on the ballot where no one could ever find you, which is, remember, I was on row E when I ran, when all the other Republicans were on, actually I was on column E, where you couldn't even see it on the voting machine. All the other candidates were in the column where you had the candidate for president, the candidate for Senate, the candidate for Congress, the candidate for sheriff, all those candidates together. So if you want to be on the column with all of those candidates on the primary election, you've got to be endorsed by this convention that the Republicans and Democrats have. And without going into all the weeds and the details, the conventions are sort of arranged so that 5 or 6 people decide who gets the nomination. You have 4 big clubs that have all the delegates. They do something called unit rule, which means that if the leader of your club gets most of the vote, the people in your club to vote yes, all the delegates' votes will be counted for a particular candidate. So it means that Brigantine, Galloway, Egg Harbor Township, and Hamilton Township, 4 clubs, basically get to pick who all the candidates are. Here you don't have a lot of people running. I believe that in Hamilton, Mulligan, Folsom, you have Jim Bertino is going to be renominated to be the freeholder or commissioner for that area. Maureen Kern, the commissioner or freeholder for Ventnor, Margate, and Summers Point, will probably be renominated. The at-large freeholder or commissioner seat currently held by Frank Ballas. Frank Ballas is not running for re-election. He was the former sheriff. And that's probably because with a presidential year, it's going to be very hard for any Republican to win county-wide. So it looks like Mike Ruffio is the favorite to run for that slot.
Well, you've really given us a thorough report today.
All right, and just before I go, one thing I've got to bring up before I go. I don't know if you followed the artificial intelligence model Gemini by Google. And that confirmed everything that every person watching a movie or TV commercial or watching news knows. And that is, you won't see a TV commercial with a normal married white husband and wife couple with happy white children. You won't see any movie in which very rare to find a movie where the hero is white, where the villain is black, or the villain is Hispanic. You have this whole model. And so what Google did, they created an artificial intelligence model that would create any image you wanted or write any news article or history term paper by just typing in a few keywords. But Google made it woke. So if you would say, I want to create an image of a pope, it would be a black pope. And then the people who were using the search engine just wanted to see how woke this program was. So they said, if you make an image of a Viking, a black Viking. Then they did an image of a Nazi soldier, it would be a black Nazi soldier. So we have the whole article, the whole video by, I believe it's Matt Walsh. He's on our libertyandprosperity.com website. You ought to see it. And I sort of noticed it when my granddaughters love the Disney character or Disney movie Frozen. Of course, you have Norwegian. You had black Norwegians because everything has to be black if you're good, and if the villain always has to be a white male. Anyway, we have that. We have a new scholarship fund. All that stuff's posted on libertyandprosperity.com, and of course, we meet every Saturday morning from 9:30 to 10:30. At Sal's Cafe, Groveland Avenue, a new road in Summers Point. So have a great day, great weekend, and I'm late. I got to get back to my meeting.
That's right. Okay, Seth, thank you. Seth Grossman, Liberty and Prosperity, the website libertyandprosperity.com. I'm John DeMasi. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We are getting started with the program. More Talk with a Purpose after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
Let's get started here on Talk with a Purpose. We'll start it off with John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yes, good morning. Regarding race and ethnic prejudices, the man was Gay Talese. Gay didn't mean the same thing in 1932, but he's a first-generation Italian-American in Ocean City. His dad, Joseph Talese, came over to Ellis Island, made his way to Philadelphia. By the time he was 21, he had opened up he's a tailor by trade, so he opened up a dry cleaning business in Ocean City called Gigi's, but he had to advertise it as a French-run business, not Italian, because of the. And then he talked about the slights he endured as an Italian-American, first-generation Italian-American, et cetera. So I think it's time for us to evolve into the 21st century. I think so, right?
Yeah.
That would be a good thing. But that's not going to deter me from talking about Letitia. No one's above the law, James, who happens to be an African-American. She accused then businessman Donald Trump of having inflated his net worth into the billions of dollars. She's New York State's Attorney General, not Director of the IRS. How does she know his net worth, what it was or what it was not anyway? If she can go after him for exaggerating his net worth, then I should be able to sue any pizza parlor here in town that is, you've tried to now try the best print on the cover of its box for false advertisement, and the piece is not that good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. Well, she further said he's not perfected the art of this deal, but actually he's perfected the art of the steal. Very clever. She's thrown in a bevy of accusations against the man. Deceptive business practices, tremendous fraud, egregious actions, etc. She said the court ruling was fair in its deciding of a $454 million fine imposed upon him. Actually, I believe it was more like $535 million, but anyway, 3/4 of that is for disgorgement. I had to Google that one. All profits made from illegal acts are to be given up. The other fourth is interest, which will accrue every day the fine isn't paid in full. That's shockingly egregious, but on their part, not on his, right? They're provably false accusations. If she could actually prove that he has been a slumlord renting substandard, not up to code tenements in New York City, that would justify her claims of massive fraud and deceptive business practices. The fact of the matter is, however, was not only the high-rises he had built in Manhattan, not only up to the strictest of codes enforced on Manhattan Island, but the home appreciation, that being the increased upgraded value of those buildings, shows just the opposite of business fraud. In fact, he built 1/3 of present-day Manhattan anyway. She further said that Trump lied about his net worth to acquire business loans from banks. Any competent banking institution that I know of is going to find out if you're lying or not. That's one of the ways banks stay in business. I'm pretty sure, right?
Right.
So she never had a case anyway. And President/businessman Trump has been declared guilty before being proven innocent. Anyway, she says no one's above the law. But how about if she takes Governor Kathy above the law, Hochul, for giving a positions of authority to illegal aliens, rather. That's acting lawlessly and above the law, but she's not going to go after a fellow Democrat, no, is she? So, yeah, really what it is about, it's about a left versus right. And I understand what Dennis Miller said, that the Hatfields versus the McCoys. But ultimately, we're going to have to meet in the middle somewhere, because that's how it works in America. Otherwise, it'll explode into another civil war, which will be very destructive for America. Thanks for letting me call in.
All right, John. Thanks for the call. Let's talk to Craig in Northfield. Craig, good morning. Welcome.
Well, good morning, John. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Well, to follow up with John, okay, Donald J. Trump's biggest crime, according to that Attorney General there, when she was running for office there, what did she say? Do you remember what she said?
No, I really don't. I know she said a lot of things.
Well, she said he was too male and too pale. Whoa. Where's all these groups that would come out in favor of that discriminatory statement?
Yeah.
Now, just think if we said the problem with Obama is he's too male and too dark.
Yeah.
Okay? What would happen? Ouch. Okay.
Yeah.
That, I heard that several times, so I want to go back to, we'll swing over to Georgia since we're talking about all these corruption trials here. You know how a phone pings, your cell phone, ping, ping, ping?
Yeah.
Remember how they caught that criminal that shot those girls there in the college and stabbed all those people there in Colorado?
Yeah.
Well, it appears in 2020, Georgia had a couple pings. Did you know that?
No.
Oh, yeah, that woman down there that's, said that, was prosecuting Donald J. Trump, with that destruction of the election fraud.
Yeah.
Well, she said she wasn't involved with that guy. The guy that she gave that $675,000 in those vacations. She's got money that she spread across I gotta see that mattress that she's got. But the phone pings were coming in 2020. She says she wasn't sleeping both phones. So the prosecutor and her phone were in the same house in 2020. There was no relationship, and she said, before 2022.
Interesting.
I don't know if what was pinging in there, but
yeah,
it probably wasn't the phones only.
That's right.
You understand? John, I have to come up with a couple things here.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, on the border, 82% of Democrats now say that the border, they want it fixed.
Oh, about time, huh?
Oh, yeah. And then you remember Biden. Okay, guys, wait. This week, Biden is going to sign a restricted asylum claims. Oh, I guess he didn't need Congress after all, right?
Right.
Has anybody seen what's going on in Argentina? Remember Argentina was so broke?
Yeah.
They shrunk their government. They got a conservative like Donald J. Trump. Go see what's going on in that country. It turned around like we used to be turned around almost 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be fast here because I know the biggest loser of the week will be Nikki. You know that tonight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk real quick about the caller last week. Okay, so let's talk about, he said that, with the NATO thing.
Yes.
I remember that, and I was off, but I got to hear him, talking about how he had that little bit of run-in with Harry about Russia. But, sir, I just want you to remember it was Donald J. Trump that lowered the oil that crushed, Russia. And what Biden did was Biden made Russia stronger because right now their economy is doing very well because of the oil. They got a slush fund from that oil.
Yeah.
So that's why they'll still be able to go, and that's why Ukraine needs our money. I want to put my little tinfoil hat on, if it's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, I always kind of try to bring up, did you notice that Mitch McConnell, he was a little wishy-washy with that bill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember, he was for it, then he wasn't for it, then he was for it, and then all of a sudden he changed his mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So, did you know that Mitch lost his sister-in-law?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying here. That's why I said my tinfoil hat here. So, Angela Chow, okay, Miss Chow used to be on she used to be the secretary of something on the cabinet.
Yeah, yes.
Donald J. Trump,
yes,
remember?
Yes.
Well, her sister died, okay, and her car, a Tesla, backed up, banged into some big obstacle, and I think she even drowned, went into water.
Jeez.
Can you imagine that? All of a sudden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, let me just say this to you. No autopsy. They didn't want an autopsy. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about what her husband does. Mitch McConnell's brother-in-law. Are you ready?
Yeah.
He owns some type of, starts with a I couldn't even get all the numbers that quick, capital, which was officially named by the FBI as a China operation.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Yeah.
So we got the Senate, our minority, right? McConnell's brother-in-law was named a Chinese spy operation.
Boy. The plot thickens.
What do they talk about during Thanksgiving dinner, John? Can you tell me?
Yeah, jeez. I would like to be a fly on the wall in that one.
Yeah. All right, guys, I just want to say thank you so much, John, for allowing me to come on. Good show.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We have Dan and Andy, and then maybe you after the break at 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio, 609-407-1450. Back with more of your calls and more of the program in just a moment. But first, we take a moment here on the show to talk about good stuff. And that is B.F. Mazzeo, the finest fresh fruit and produce you will find anywhere. And believe me, I've tried it. It's true. I mean, I've tried things at other places and it just doesn't compare. So if you haven't been there, try it for yourself. B.F. Mazzeo, where it's not only prepared foods, baked goods, finest fresh fruit and produce, gourmet specialties. I mean, there is everything in basically a small store. I mean, it's packed in. You look up, you look down, and I remember saying that way back when, and a friend of mine did that, and he discovered a few other things, and I'm discovering it. So you want to check that out. And of course, if you have someone who is, you want to say hello to, you want to say just to acknowledge them, you send a gift basket or a fruit basket from BF Mazzio, and boy, I'll tell you, they are second to none when it comes to that. BF Mazzio, online at bfmazzio.com and located at 601 New Road in Northfield. That's 601 New Road in Northfield. And yes, I'll be there later on today, right after the show, and doing my little shopping and getting all of my fruits and vegetables and all that good stuff. BF Mazzio, 601 New Road, Northfield, and online at bfmazzio.com. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusOfAtlanticCity.com. Or, if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at LexusOfAtlanticCity.com.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. For today, a shower in spots this morning. Otherwise, intervals of clouds and sunshine, high 46. For tonight, clear and colder, low 19. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine with a high of 46. For tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a low of 27. And then on Monday, clouds will start and sunshine returns, high 61. I'm AccuWeather's Caitlin Lawrence on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Back here on Talk with a Purpose, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at Comcast.net. Or if you want to email me today or tomorrow, that's fine. jdadv1 at Comcast.net. And of course, you can like us on Facebook at Talk with a Purpose. At Talk with a Purpose is our Facebook address. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Let's talk to Dan in Linwood. Dan, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. I have one clarification for Greg and the folks, and then the rest of my call is going to be all about money.
Okay.
So before 2022, the actual contacts between Wade and Fannie Willis, and they swore there wasn't any romantic relationship, even though it was an eyewitness. They unveiled 2,000 texts, 2,000 phone calls, and 10,000 texts.
Whoa.
These are the real numbers. So we don't have to search if you want to make your decision on that, whether they should be disqualified in those meetings in Washington, which they're not allowed to go to formulate a strategy to do this case in Georgia.
Yeah.
They can't do it, and they did it, and it's and not only that, Wade went up there and billed them for 16 hours.
Jeez.
Now we'll go with the money. Got Mitch McConnell, him and his wife were granted $25 million from father-in-law, who's Chinese, of course, and his net worth going in was $2 million. Currently, it's $134 million.
Jeez.
So I don't know how we do that on $174,000 a year. But we'll ask the same question of Nancy Pelosi, whose net worth was $1.5 million and is currently between $125 and $160 million, including the largest vineyards in California. So we got to throw that in. And the most important thing is Ukraine. What I heard on the show that airs on your station at 1 p.m. was that Ukraine, because remember the exodus before the war, just as the war was happening?
Yes.
Everybody was heading towards the Polish border.
Yes.
It happens that 650,000 of their richest citizens have vacated Ukraine.
Boy.
So that tells you a lot. And then we have to give them hundreds of billions of dollars to keep everything going. Yet we created an atmosphere, as Craig said, that we created Russia to a powerhouse from $40 oil to $100 oil. Then it backed off a little bit. But they're making billions of dollars, including Putin, of course, and he could fund any war he wants with that much money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks to Joe Biden, Keystone Pipeline.
Yep.
Okay, and you can't do the leases, and you can't send the natural gas, and everything is destroying our car industry. Everything he's doing, so it's all about money. And the most egregious thing is what we do with Iran: $6 billion for the hostages, plus 5 high-level hostages go back to Iran. Then we released $100 billion to Iran. Then we have all that money from the oil with the same thing I just said, $40 to $100 oil. Could you imagine what Iran made on this deal?
Jeez.
So they're funding their operation courtesy of Joe Biden and the boys.
Oh, yeah.
It's our policies that kill us. But what's going on the border, it's our policies. He overturned everything that was working.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
In America, the first country, everything else restricting the border. So I had an idea that I hope I could give to Congressman Van Drew, is that we have the National Guard. You have to do 2 weeks training.
Yes.
And so I would say the 26 red states do all their training, which is 52 weeks, so you're covered constantly, in support of the Texas border. And the Texas border, I've been calling this for years, to start building border bases in Texas, California, New Mexico, and California, and actually fill these billets up with the National Guard people. And it's a natural thing. They would be down there doing some good training, and they would be doing some real work and earning the money that, of course, they would like to do. Instead of doing make work on their training, they could go down there and help with the border.
That's it. Yeah, that's right.
It's so much, but it all comes to money. Even this guy Goldman, who's always has the argument on the Democratic side, he's a billionaire. He's one of the heirs of the Levi Strauss fortune, and Eric Swalwell had this girl Fang, and everybody laughed because of the name. This was serious business. She hasn't been heard from since. She was back to China, and this guy's still serving on major committees. In other words, we have no chance at the current setup. So they better vote for Donald Trump, because he's the only guy who could turn all this stuff around.
That's true. That's true. That's true, Dan. Thanks for the call. Well, we've said that many times. Donald Trump is the only guy who could turn it around. Certainly not Joe Biden. Or I heard on another show before me this morning, Gavin Newsom, Michelle Obama. No. Andy and Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning, John. It's a great day in Brigantine.
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to go back to the beginning of your show, and some facts have been left out by several callers, so I'll just fill in some of the holes. Going back to Seth Grossman, I've watched every piece that Jesse Waters did on Craig Calloway, okay? And the one that he was referring to where Jesse's man on the street shoved a microphone in his face in his house is not true. Craig Calloway was standing outside near a curb by a fence, leaning on a fence, and the reporter walked up to him. Now, he pushed him. Granted, he was accusing him. The things that he said to him were a little bit pushy. Fine. But the guy, if you know the guy I'm talking to, this reporter on the street, he needs to have a cinder block tied around his leg or he'd float away. I mean, he's very effeminate. He's not a threat to anybody. But what Craig Calloway said to him was, "Get out." This is a direct quote. "Get out my face before I have to take one of you bastards down." Now, what does that sound like? To me, that sounds like a thug.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a racist comment. This word thug is now racist. I can bring up a half a dozen times when Obama used the word thug, and he was one of the biggest race baiters this country's ever seen. So the word thug is not racist. But Craig Calloway came across like a thug. I think that Seth should tread lightly attaching himself to a guy like this, because eventually that stench winds up on you.
Yeah, I said the same thing. Yeah, I said the same thing on the air.
He really, everything about him just reeks of crook, and just my opinion. But this is not a guy I want in my corner.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, and as far as Newt Gingrich, one of the most intelligent people who's ever walked the planet, they were fair what they said about Calloway, and okay, so let's get off of that. Now, Seth, you were talking about the woman who had the cosmetics.
Yes.
And Seth was talking. This notion, and Seth is correct, this notion that blacks can't make it in this country. Do you know per capita? So in other words, blacks make up 13% of our population. As a percentage of their respective population, there are as many millionaire blacks as there are millionaire whites in this country. Okay? So this notion that blacks can't make it. You know, you look at someone like Oprah Winfrey, right? A black female. You look at her friend, Gayle King, a black female. You look at Whoopi Goldberg, again, a black female. We're supposed to believe that especially a black female can't get anywhere in this country. And look where Gayle King, Whoopi Goldberg, and Oprah Winfrey are. If we're a racist country, and if whites have privilege, how come I'm not sitting where Whoopi Goldberg is, or Gayle King, or Oprah Winfrey? And then why aren't they humping around a limousine? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if it's true what they're saying, I should be in their position. They should be in mine. Correct.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
About President Trump. I guess you heard this week Joe Biden forgave student loans again, right?
Yeah. We're going to talk about it later. Yeah.
Think about this, John. Donald Trump paid back bank loans with interest, okay? And they took his business away. Meanwhile, students do not pay back their loans, and those loans are forgiven. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, you know, they say Donald Trump has it, so it's okay.
Yeah. Fannie Willis. So I'll fill in the holes here. So the defense hired a private investigator, and from everything I've heard about this investigator, everyone has talked about this guy. He's like one of the best in the business down there. Okay, what they found is that Nathan Wade, who said that he visited Fani's house no more than 10 times. She said he didn't visit at all. Well, the pinging from his cell phone shows that he was there 35 times.
Yeah.
Okay? And on several occasions that he actually spent the night. In other words, he showed up at her place around 11 or midnight, stayed till 3, 4, 5 in the morning, then went back to his own residence, and within minutes of him getting back to his own residence, he sends a text to Fannie. So in other words, like, I got home safely, blah, 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 that type of text, you can just assume what the text would be, right? But your previous caller was correct. 2,000 phone calls and 12,000 texts. I mean, there are married couples who don't communicate.
That's right.
Yeah. But they tell you that they were not in a relationship.
Oh no.
On 2022, and we have proof to the contrary now. But here's the thing: what's interesting, I think. So they released this information yesterday from the private investigator, this affidavit that came out yesterday, and Fani's team is going to respond to what came out in that affidavit sometime over the weekend, whatever. And I think they have given them a little rope to hang themselves. So they'll respond to that. Let's see how they can defend 35 visits to her house, 2 of them in the wee hours of the morning where he stayed, most of the night. Let's see how they spin that, because whatever they say in response to this affidavit is then you're going to see even more information come out from this private investigator that's going to blow this whole thing up. I really think that she's going to be thrown off the case. Both of them are going to be thrown off the case. I would suspect the case will be dismissed because the whole thing is tainted now, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if both of them get disbarred because they both lied to the court.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks for the call, Andy. Yeah, that would be nice if they got disbarred. Yeah, they lied. And in fact, we're going to do a story on that coming up in the next hour. But, boy, a lot on the table today. 609-407-1450. We're going to start the 10 o'clock hour with some wide open lines and a rare moment here on the show where all the lines are open. So if you want to jump in here right away at 10 o'clock, 609-407-1450. We've got and I always thought it was Fannie Willis, but now I understand it's Fonnie Willis. Fannie, what's the difference? Talk about the Trump sneaker situation. This thing in Atlantic City with the housing authority, I haven't begun to understand this. I mean, it's ridiculous what is going on. People don't have heat. They don't have water. And somebody's making a lot of money and not doing their job. So we're going to talk about that. Another Supreme Court ruling that has potential damage for Republicans. Yeah. You'll see it. You'll hear it right here. Talk with the Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. 5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 2, Talk with a Purpose, every Saturday 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi, as the man said, and good to have you along here on the program. It's our Saturday morning get-together, every Saturday 9 till noon. Got a couple of callers here that we'll get to in a moment. I just wanted to comment. I just really don't understand this. But I don't understand a lot of things, especially in politics and city government and state government. So the situation in Atlantic City with the housing authority is a disgrace. And I want to shout out to Atlantic City Councilman Kaleem Shabazz. He's attempting to get a reduction in pay for Executive Director Tom Sallin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Shabazz said he would ask the Housing Authority Board not to sign a new contract with qualified purchase agent Jerry Volpe's company, Governance and Fiscal Affairs, LLC. By the way, Volpe's firm was paid $511,000 for just over a year handling purchasing and contracts for the agency. I'll take that job for half. Really? A new contract supposedly was on the agenda at a meeting held last week. Volpe does not order requested materials in a timely manner, so repairs don't happen for weeks and months. And as I said earlier, I've heard there's no heat, there's no water in some of the units. Some people are moving out. There will be more meetings and hearings on the Atlantic City Housing Authority. In the meantime, the problems continue for the residents. How can this happen? $511,000 and not doing the job, and then he's going to get a new contract? And then the executive director is, well, they just fired one guy, and now another guy's in, and what's he doing? This is what I'm trying to say. If they were in private industry, they'd be fired. And they would get somebody in who can do the job. So we'll see. We'll have to get both Kaleem Shabazz and Marty Small on here in the program in the near future and see if they can sort this out for us. Let's go to the phones. Frank and Ventnor. Frank, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning.
So, John, the main thing my post-show analysis makes clear is I have an awful lot of time on my hands.
Okay. I mean, you really, it's very thorough. I mean, if you were in school and doing book reports, I'd probably pay you to do mine.
Hey, John, I just want to make a quick first a quick comment before I get to my other point.
Okay.
I don't think anyone watches Jesse Waters for a serious analysis of the news.
No.
I think it's like Gonzo high school type of stuff. So, really.
Yeah.
But John, I want to mention another call from last week that I thought was really good. And this was from John from Ocean City.
Yeah.
He did a great historical fact check on the Tucker Carlson Putin interview.
Yes.
And he gave us what John mentioned. What's really important, a lot of times you hear things, even though you cherry pick certain information like Putin did, he didn't give us all the information. And John made a good point of giving the historical account of all that. But what I have to think about is, why didn't Tucker Carlson do that afterwards, right? I don't expect him to do it right on the show, but you have to wonder, why does John from Ocean City have more information, more historical information than Tucker Carlson has? Why didn't Tucker do it?
Yeah, I would doubt it, yeah. That's true, yeah.
But probably Tucker didn't have enough time, John, because he was running all around Moscow telling us how great it would be to live in that city. I don't know if you saw some of his clips. He went to a McDonald's and the food was cheap, and he went to a supermarket and look how they lock up their carts. The homeless can't get it. So he did this kind of like an apology tour, I guess, like Obama did once when Obama went around the world telling people, how the United States wasn't quite as good as some other countries.
Yeah.
So, that's all, John. That's,
okay, thanks.
My comment for now.
Thanks for the call, Frank. I'll look forward to your post-show analysis. It's good reading, let me tell you. Bob and Kate, Florida. Come on. It's still February, so we won't see you till about May, right, Bob?
Probably not, John. I'm afraid it's a good day in Sarasota, but it's not a great day like it is in Brigantine.
Okay.
So, I'm still envious. So, hey, look, I have to respond to Frank, but just wanted the prosecutor in Atlanta, she gets mad when you call her Fanny. We have to say Fawny. So we just need to keep that in mind. We just don't want her upset. Okay.
Thanks for telling, because I think I called her Fanny a couple of times.
Oh, John, it's an indictment might come down.
Look out.
So look, you mentioned the Atlantic City Housing Authority. Now, this is the key with government. This is why government, as Ronald Reagan said, is the problem. It is not the answer. So in private industry, if you're incompetent, if you're lazy, you go out of business.
That's right.
And in city government, state government, especially in New Jersey, and federal government, well, if you're incompetent and or lazy, what do? You just raise taxes. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So there's no incentive to really be efficient. There's no incentive really to work hard when you're in government, for the most part. That's just the truth. So Frank, I have to respond to your criticism of Tucker Carlson. Now, nobody's perfect, and I saw Tucker's interview. You really need to listen to it. You really need to listen to the interview with Putin. It's a long 2-hour interview. Tucker's purpose there was not to be an apologist for Putin. It was not to glorify Russia, but it's just to make the American people aware of certain empirical, fundamental facts. And if he sees that the subways in Moscow are beautiful, are clean, as opposed to New York City and Philadelphia subways that are absolutely disgusting urine and that's whatever.
Right. That's right.
Stinks like hell, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so what is he supposed to do? Just ignore that? No. But the interview with Putin was so that the American people could be informed about what is going on. And Russia, under Putin, under Yeltsin, they wanted to be in the Western sphere, in our sphere of influence. Okay? After the Soviet Union fell, they wanted to become part of the Western group of nations. For some reason, and it might be the military-industrial complex, who knows, but Putin wanted to join NATO. Bill Clinton said yes, but let me talk to my advisors. Well, the advisors, meaning the CIA and the people that control the Defense Department, the military-industrial complex, said no. And there were other instances Putin brought up. There was supposed to be a mutual treaty, a mutual endeavor with Russia, NATO, the United States, regarding missile defense. What happened? He was rebuffed. And, his economy is a market economy, just like ours. But again, there were efforts by Russia to become part of, our Western European American alliance, and he was rebuffed. Now, again, is Putin right? No. He's done some horrible things, and he's a horrible person. That is correct. But again, our current foreign policy has done this, and this is not, can't dispute this. We've got 3 major powers in the world. 2 of them are now in an alliance against us. Diplomatically, that is disaster. You never, ever do that. If you're number one, like we think we are, I don't even know if we are anymore. If you're the number one power in the world, you want the number 3 power in the world to be on your side.
That's right.
You don't want them to be on the side of the Chinese, and that's right. What we have done. And President Trump, for all his sometimes he's a crude individual, but he has wisdom. And he was trying to rebuild a relationship with Russia. He was trying to come to some kind of agreement with China so we are not at war with each other, so we don't destroy American lives, young men whose blood is spilled, whose lives are ruined, like that idiot George W. Bush.
Yeah.
These people, these leaders that we've had through the decades, most of them, not all of them. Ronald Reagan was not this way. Right. Donald Trump wasn't this way. But these people have no problem at all with spilling American blood.
Yeah,
none at all.
That's what I was saying about George W. And Bob, thanks a lot for the call. I was saying that about George W. a couple weeks ago. It's just, I just can't believe it. He just spills the blood of young boys. That's it. George and AC. George, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good. How about you?
I'm all right. I know. I'm good. I mentioned to Chris that I really feel bad because of my own schedule that I have a hard time being available to be able to call in. I enjoy the repeat on Sundays, but I don't have a chance to call too often on Saturday mornings. Anyway, with that being said, I can't forget his name. The gentleman from Brigantine.
Andy,
yeah. He's 100% on point with 99% of the things that he said. The only one thing that I'm going to mention, all right, and I'm not a supporter or against or for Callaway or whatever, but let me just say this one thing. If I were Craig Callaway and I'm willing to speak with somebody from the Jesse Waters show and I'm standing there on my fence, at my own home where I live, and the guy is standing right there next to you, okay, and the guy's got a microphone that's got one of those square box things on the top of it.
Yeah.
All right? Hey, you don't need to shove it in somebody's face, okay? So the bottom line is the guy, if he's going to be there to be doing some kind of an interview that's going to be going on national, okay?
Yeah.
All right? You don't stand there and, flip the thing over towards him, literally within inches of his face. It's not necessary. And at the same time, the guy is talking to him about the fraud and the this and the that in a relatively sarcastic way.
Yeah.
So I'm not defending Craig. I'm not here to do that. That's for darn sure. Okay? But don't put something like that in my face. It's sort of like I'm knocking it away and get the hell away from me if this is the way you're going to talk to me, kind of a thing is the way that I personally would feel.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. It's not necessary. Hey, look, Craig is in a situation which I certainly wouldn't want to be in, okay?
No.
He's involved now in a federal crime situation, whatever, and it's a real serious thing. So, hey, Jesse Waters, which I love his show, I do, okay? And this guy does, like he says, a little bit effeminate, whatever. I agree with the gentleman that calls from Brigantine, but he don't do that in other interviews that I see all the time on the Jesse Waters show.
Yeah.
So do me a favor. If I'm Craig Callaway and I'm willing to stand here in front of my home and talk with you, let's have a civil conversation. Don't flip a microphone literally within inches of my face and start talking about things in a sarcastic, nasty way about, come on, fraud, in a sarcastic way.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, that's I thought the same thing. I mean,
that's all that I'm saying. 'Cause guess what? When Craig sort of flipped it away, pushed him away, kind of a thing. If I was Craig, and I'm not standing up to protect the guy with some of the stuff that he does. But the bottom line is, I'm willing to talk to you in front of my own home, standing there on the fence. Let's have a civil, intelligent conversation for a few minutes. Don't flip a microphone in my face like that and start talking to me come on, you're saying you're doing this stuff and you're doing that stuff, and being sarcastic like that.
Yeah.
So nobody needs that.
Nobody needs that is right. Thanks for the call, George. Appreciate that you have some time today to call our show. 609-407-1450. That's the number here in the studio. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday 9 till noon. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. And I'm John DeMasi. Good to have you with us. And we'll talk to John after the break, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. We want to talk about after the break.
How are you, Greg?
I just didn't believe this.
Thank you.
And I don't understand it, so just bear with me. The Supreme Court ruled, and I think this is really going to hurt Republicans. The Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos are people. What? That's what they ruled. Now, the ruling could hurt the practice of in vitro fertilization. In fact, some IVF facilities, I understand, are closing. this is good news for the Democrats and bad news for the Republicans, because here we go again. Oh, they're taking away your reproductive rights. Oh, this can't be. Yeah, frozen embryos are people. I don't know how, but that's what the Supreme Court ruled. And the Democrats are licking their chops. One Democrat consultant said the ruling bolsters Democrats ahead of the 2024 election because it will be widely seen by families as part of an escalating attack on their freedoms by Republicans. Yeah, they're taking away abortions. Now they're taking away in vitro fertilization. And now they're taking away everything. Oh. So we'll talk about it. What do you think of that? 609-407-1450. Talk with a Purpose, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. As I said, we'll talk to John, and then we'll talk to Greg, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose in just a moment. We'll talk about the other good stuff here on the program, and that is Lexus, courtesy of Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Had my car in for service. Now, you know, I've had this car now 4 years, and I have now, I think, 88,000 miles. And for the first time, I've got to put brakes and rotors and all of that. So the mechanic, I had it in for service the other day. He told me it'll be a couple of weeks. It'll need that. But, you know, that's the first time, that's the first time I've had service like that. So, and you know, what I'm thinking is that I'll have it now and the car will be good for another 80,000 miles. You know, you can't, as I said many times, you can't kill these cars. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, and online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. And you want to check out the pre-owned vehicles, the L-certified vehicles. And, you know, that's Lexus's way of saying, hey, these are top-notch pre-owned vehicles. And they are. They are clean. They're nice. Couple of miles on them, but, you know, you'll save yourself some money. And I almost was going to do that, but just decided to keep this car. So, but you can do that. Check it out. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road, EHT. Online at aclexus.com, aclexus.com. You will be very, very pleased if you decide to drive a Lexus because you just run them. You change the oil and, you know, once every 80,000 miles or so, you get brakes. So that's it. Lexus of Atlantic City, again, 3169 Fire Road, EHT, online at aclexus.com. Coming back with more Talk with a Purpose and your calls in just a moment.
I'm Seth Grossman for libertyandprosperity.com. Last month, American Thinker published an article I wrote about the war in the Middle East. I call it 13 key facts about Israel that are known by very few Americans. I invite you to Google it or look it up at libertyandprosperity.com. One is that Palestine was never an Arab nation. It was the name that a Roman emperor gave to Israel after he crushed a Jewish rebellion there. Another is that most of Israel or Palestine was mostly empty malaria swamp and desert until about 100 years ago. Most Arabs did not move there until after Jews drained the swamps, watered the deserts, and planted trees and crops. Learn more about these and other important facts about Jews, Christians, and Arabs in and around Israel. Visit libertyandprosperity.com. Help us reach more people. Join our weekly breakfast. Donate what you can to keep us on the air and online. libertyandprosperity.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. If you want to listen to any of our shows at any time, you Google John DeMasi podcasts, and they all come up. It's that simple. Over 200 shows, so you can... That's a lot of listening. Google John DeMasi podcasts, and all the shows come up. It's that simple. Talk with a Purpose is the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. John in Ocean City is back. John, good morning.
Man alive, I got a shout out from Frank from Ventnor. You know, I was going to go to the Acme later on, but my head's so swollen I might not be able to get to the door.
That's right. That's right.
I'll say for something for him and for Bob from Cape May, Sarasota, Florida. Tucker Carlson, he enabled, he let Vladimir Putin go on and on and on about Russian history and about how it's affecting things of today, and how the Russian Federation is coming up from the dissolution of the Soviet Union circa 1991, et cetera, et cetera. He could have erupted it a couple of times and threw some hardball questions, but he didn't. On the other hand, Bob's correct, man. It took guts to go over there and do that. Not guts because he wouldn't make it back to America. No, guts because he did make it back to America, and the mainstream media, just the vultures in the mainstream media, just went after him for it, you know. So, yeah, that's a shout-out to Tucker Carlson then. But it was Medvedev. It was actually Harry Hurley who had said the other day that Medvedev had threatened nuclear retaliation if we interfere anymore in Ukraine. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not getting it, but he threatened nuclear retaliation with nuclear weaponry. Yeah. So Medvedev is actually worse than Putin, whether people want to hear it or not. And we live in a day of deception here. What seems he seems like a nice, cool, calm guy, but actually he's way worse than Putin is, and that just shows me that they're deep state, and the Russian Federation is actually the shadow government. Really, that's what I believe. And I forget the lady's name, but she was born and raised in England, but she learned Russian and became a Russian translator. She really got enamored of Russian history and that, and learned it. And she had said that she had overheard that was the elite in Russia and the Soviet Union, the USSR, that actually planned that to have the USSR fall. And I remember it was in the early 1990s. Again, I can't remember the general's name, but he said that international mafia, and he says, I'm not talking about the Italian mafia, I'm talking about the international mafia that brought the USSR down are now going to come after you. And he meant us in America here. So, yeah, well, just think about the shadow government's the hand and the glove is the deep state. Just think about Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, he barely got through high school. He crapped out in Vienna as an art student. He actually had to take shelter in men's hostels, which is equivalent to the YMCA. The guy was basically a loser. So how did he become the Führer of Germany? It's just amazing. They call it, he was a corporal in the German army in the Wehrmacht back in World War I, and he was nicknamed Odd Adolf by his fellow soldiers because he would brood and he was a loner and he would like stay away from the other soldiers. But when he talked, he would just go on a rant about communists and Jews. So he was an oddball all along. The guy was an odd dude, and they picked him. He was picked by people. He was chosen by people that were higher up than him. Heinrich Himmler was a member of the Brill Society, and Joseph Goebbels was a member of the Tula Society. The equivalent of the Tula Society is the Skull and Bones here in America. So we're talking about occult secret societies that go all the way back into old Europe. And the swastika was not invented by Adolf Hitler. That's an ancient occult symbol. It's an old witchcraft symbol is what it is. It belongs to the old religion. Hitler invented that flag, that weird-looking Black Widow flag up there. It's a red and white disc and a black swastika in the middle of it. And if you notice, the blades of that swastika go left. They turn left for a reason because they were leftist socialists, is what they were. Joseph Goebbels said the differences between communism and the Hitler faith are very slight. That's what he said. So they were socialists, man. They're just as much as socialist as Joseph Stalin was and Mao Zedong was. And we're opposing a gigantic conspiracy against America and going after President Trump, who actually built up businesses in New York. And now some of his chief executives are actually being banned from doing any kind of business in New York City ever, or New York State rather ever. And Donald Trump has been hit with like a $565 million fine or something like that to that effect, and he can't do business in New York for 3 years. But meanwhile, 77,000 Chinese men of military age came over the border and were caught. That's not including the people that they got away, and that was in 2023. And, they were just waves escaping from communist China. Go ask Chucky Schumer. He'll tell you. No, want to know what it's like to escape from a communist country? You would have to ask the people that were shot in the back when they're trying to climb the Berlin Wall in West Germany.
Yeah, I remember
you know what
that.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing, man. Our country is being destroyed from within, but we have. I was going to say a cuss word. The word that starts with the S and T. You know, in charge of everything. It's like it makes you want to scream bloody murder. But if we cannot understand that there is a hidden hand in all this. Okay, for instance, there were slats of bricks outside of shop front windows back in the what's it called? What's that, guys? The Floyd 2020 summer, and they were throwing those bricks through storefront windows. There was no building sites around, so where'd they come from? They were put there by somebody.
Yeah,
so there is an orchestrated plan to destroy America. And if people don't wake up and smell the coffee soon, I mean, they weren't holding hands and singing Kumbaya, sitting around the fire back in the days of when we opposed King George III. No, but they knew that King George III sucked.
Yeah,
He sucked bad air. So that's we can unite and overcome our differences. We can overcome this power that works from behind the scenes in a fortnight. 2 weeks.
Okay, John.
Call it a second time.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Greg and Absecon. Greg, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Mr. Massey, good morning. I wasn't going to talk about it, but we're at 10 million, probably headed towards 12 right now. You have to ask yourself, how many armies do we have arriving? No longer one.
Yeah.
That's a given. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
This is a question. I grew up in business most of my life. You look for parity, job, price, what it's costing you, what you collect for a wage.
Yeah.
We have a place over Stanley Village, 400 units, and they're all Section 8. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
The person leading the services that are being offered, he's at a tune of $400,000 a year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All I keep thinking of was Fauci making excess of $400,000. He was making more than the president.
Yeah. That's right.
In a low, let me clarify. It's not a low job. They are flying under the radar. We hear about what the president makes, the vice president, all the senators, all the congressmen. You have to start asking yourself, well, how many jobs are under the radar that we never hear about that are being paid in $500,000?
Yeah.
Or thereabouts?
Yeah.
Yearly?
Yeah.
And if they're being paid these monies, their contracts, you don't fire these people.
That's right. That's right.
Because they end up collecting it regardless.
That's right. And don't do the job. That's the other thing.
Right.
I mean, it's like
exactly.
How could you come to work? You get paid. I think I'll go to work and I'll sleep for 8 hours. I mean that's essentially what they're doing. Is they're collecting money for not working.
They're not exactly. They're not paying attention to what the hell they're getting paid for.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
a given.
511,000. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, how many jobs are existing at those levels, at those kind of numbers, that we have no idea because we never hear what the outlay is for it. And are they flying with parity or at some level we're not aware of at all?
Yeah. That's the situation. That's the situation we're faced with. Greg, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. Linda and Absecon. Linda, good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning.
Well, I like Craig Calloway. I think he's really smart. I do. I think he's a very smart man.
Well, that's you're certainly entitled to your opinion.
That's what used to be nice about America.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like we're going to have that much longer if things continue down the road that they're going.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But no, I do. I find him find him interesting. For me, that's a compliment. I think that's one of the nicest things you can say about somebody is that they're interesting.
Yeah.
And I do. I find him interesting, and I remember his history from when he wanted a seat at the table with Lorenzo Langford when Lorenzo became mayor.
Yes.
Another good guy, by the way. And so he's an interesting man, and certainly he's paid the price for some mistakes, and came back a better, different man. He was. I was surprised that this last thing that they're trying to do with Craig came about, because I felt that he didn't like the criminal side, and I appreciated. Not that he was a criminal. I mean, he just said, well, I guess if maybe I depending on how you're going to look at some things, but I can't make him perfect, can I? Now?
No.
But who of us are? And so I really like for him to become a Christian. I think he would be amazing. I think he has a sensitivity to him. I think he has an understanding and awareness, and I think he's really smart. And why not get paid for doing a job? And if that means he got a client like Jeff, good for him. Got a client like Vince, good for him. And probably filed a I can't put the form that a tax form anyway.
And your husband's a CPA. Come on, you should know that like the back of your hand.
Well, I do you know how many tax forms there are?
I know. I know.
It really didn't come to me which one it would have been that Craig would have filed. But I wish him the best as it goes. We'll see. And I would like to see him go to it. Craig, there's a great church in EHT. It's called New Life Assembly, and it's beautiful lives. They're beautiful lives that meet Jesus Christ, or they become beautiful lives that meet Jesus Christ.
Linda,
but anyway,
I have to ask you, what do you think of the Supreme Court decision that says frozen embryos are people?
Well, they are humans, right? In fact, there was a 1996 amendment that bars federal funding for human embryo experiments. You know what they wanted back then? They wanted the embryonic stem cell lines, and they wanted the baby. They wanted the embryos, and they got protected. Because you know what would happen? They thought they could do all kinds of things with the embryonic stem cells.
Yes.
I know when my grandson was born, our daughter and husband, they saved, and they're probably still paying for his stem cell gear that he had when he was a baby. Should he need it for a disease sometime in life? But no, so I love this. And, of course. I mean, you were an embryo. Where do you think you came from? What is that about? What is that about? That's like your frame, and then the rest come, and then along comes the rest. It sets the scenario for what comes to the end. It's a beautiful thing. And so, I love the conversation because you can't touch them. So now that means for our little high school, I was thinking about something. It was Don Williams. He was talking about it the other day about spring break. And, where are these kids going to go on spring break? You know what my husband did on spring break?
He probably studied.
He came home and drove a cab so he could pay his next tuition bill at St. Joe's. Yeah. So anyway, I love this conversation because now these little girls and these little big, I don't know about, these young kids who don't know what they're doing, you're going to have to think about what you're doing because they can take their babies up until the time almost to the end and just, can deem them unwantable, and then double bag them, and throw them in the trash in the trash. So now they have to worry about a baby, an embryo is being dignified It's called human, and you can't touch it. And you're thinking, look what you're doing. And even you men, are disgusting, really, at times. So, I mean, do you think you're not a part of that baby that just got double bagged and thrown into the trash, or is it, or are you guys still the guys in the background saying, her body, her choice, her body, her choice? No.
Yeah, well,
you guys are a big part of it.
The Democrats are going to have a field day on this one. Thanks for the call, Linda. They are. I'm telling you that they're going to use this one like they use everything else. We're coming up on a break. We'll talk to Andy, and we'll talk to Lance, and maybe we'll talk to you at 609-407-1450. Supreme Court ruled that frozen embryos are people. We're talking about that. We're talking about the situation with the Atlantic City Housing Authority, and a few other things are on the table. We'll get to those after the break. Talk for the purposes of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. More of the show after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. For this afternoon, cloudy most of the time with high 46. But you'll see some stars tonight. Clear, colder with that low dip at a 19. Plenty of sunshine for tomorrow, high 46 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, milder with clouds to start. Then sunshine returns with a high up to 61. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Talk for the purposes of the show, Saturdays 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You want to email me during the week, jdadv1 at comcast.net, jdadv1 at comcast.net, and you can email me anything you like, pro, con, program suggestions, whatever is on your mind, jdadv1 at comcast.net. Let's get back to the phones. Andy and Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, John. So let's go back to the Craig Calloway thing, in all due deference to my friend George. The guy, Johnny, who is Jesse Waters' reporter on the street, it's a good name for him. He reminds me of Johnny in the Airplane movie. Remember Johnny?
Yeah.
It's like Richard Simmons as a street reporter. Again, one of the most unthreatening people you'll ever meet in your life. He did not shove the microphone in Craig Calloway's face. Now, Craig Calloway, if he's innocent, certainly conducted himself like one of the most guilty people to ever walk the planet, the way he comported himself. He was very defensive, and once again, he said to Johnny, get out my face before I have to take one of you bastards down. Now, if he is not allowed to speak to anyone because he's under investigation, all he had to say was, I'm sorry, but under the advice of my attorneys, I cannot speak to you. And all he had to do was keep repeating that. I'm sorry. Under the advice of my attorneys, I cannot speak to you. But no, he threatened the man, came off very, very defensive. And as Shakespeare famously said, methinks thou doth protest too much. He had the stench of guilt all over him. In his talk that he gave at Seth's meeting last week, which they showed the clips on Jesse Waters' show, he said something to the effect that, I believe in following the law, but, well, after you use the word but, everything you just said, you might as well take it away. So he left a lot of questions as to whether he does things on the up and up. But again, he appeared very, very, very guilty. Okay, so that's enough with him. Now, as far as, I guess it's Frank, the guy who analyzes your show.
Yes.
So, John, you and I have been in radio. I still do some radio. I'm going on my 4th decade in the business. You and I have been...
I got you beat by 10 years.
Oh, I know. So, you know, there are people that you and I have encountered, many over the years. Our friend Dean refers to them as camp followers.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
These are people who sit around all day and they flick from channel to channel to channel. They know every host on every radio station.
Yes.
They know what time they go on, what time they go off. Some of these people keep lists of every song that gets played in order. Who the hell has the time to sit around in their basement all day on their computer with their underwear wrapped around their ankles analyzing people's radio shows?
Yes.
Okay? So this guy trashes Tucker, didn't see the interviews that Tucker, the interview that Tucker gave after he interviewed Putin, which I saw, where he explained to the panel exactly why he conducted the interview the way he did. Tucker didn't go over there to make a speech. Tucker went over there to hear Putin speak. And as Barack Hussein Obama famously said, when you want ignorant people to advertise their ignorance, you don't have to do anything, you just let them speak. So the best way to get some insights into Vladimir Putin is to just let him go. Let him speak. And I have a little hypothesis here about Tucker's interview with Putin. Just suppose that Tucker went over there mainly to see how he would be received. And then to dovetail off of that, to maybe see how a President Trump might be received were he to go to Russia and possibly sit down and talk with Vladimir Putin. He also wanted to know just how open Putin would be to ending this Ukraine war, some kind of a peace deal, some kind of negotiations, some kind of talks. Is it quite possible that Tucker's real purpose there was to set the stage to open a door, to open a pathway for maybe President Trump to go over there at some point before the election and speak with Putin and broker some kind of a peace deal?
Yeah.
Just imagine the impact on the 2024 election if Donald Trump, the man they said would get us into wars, imagine if Trump were the guy who went over there and got Putin and Zelensky to have a peace agreement and for this thing to end.
Yeah.
Imagine how that would impact the election.
That really would. Thanks for the call, Andy, again. Yeah, that's a good theory. Yeah. Boy, if he could do that, that might win him the election alone. Lance in Galloway. Lance, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, a gracious good morning, John. John, first I would like to just say that Seth Grossman is our South Jersey PSA, Public Service Ambassador.
Yes.
Because he does a lot of things, and he shares information with clarity and factual support. And I just also, from going there, I just want to offer you a little constructive criticism. I've listened to the last, 8, 9 callers, and you keep, it's just a slip, I think. You keep saying the Supreme Court. It's the Alabama Supreme Court. Please put that in there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You have been saying it a little, like every time somebody says something, you say the Supreme Court. You have to identify it's the Alabama.
Well, thank you for thank you for doing that.
Well, that's what active listening's about, and that's why I listen.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And also, the other thing in regards to, it's funny. I appreciate all the callers. Everybody has their right. But the word imagine, I didn't hear John Lennon singing in the background in regards to Tucker's alternative motives and to try to offer a Trojan horse with Trump inside. I doubt that very highly if that's going to fly. Okay? Because until anything happens, until these court cases are there, didn't they consider taking his passport so he couldn't leave the country? So just a little fodder for the spring garden to put out there.
Yeah, okay.
And also, one other thing, a lot of people on various stations and on the podcasts, and even Judge Napolitano has some awesome podcasters, and Whitney Webb, I don't know if you ever listen to her, but one thing every good speaker that's backing what they're saying should do is when they don't have the answer, aside from saying, my attorney says it's not that, just remember a short little parable that I learned when I was conducting and in charge of study hall. A closed mouth gathers no feet. And with that, I leave you a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Lance. Thanks for the call. Dan in Linwood. Dan, welcome back.
I want to concentrate on Letitia James for a minute. This is the lady who sat in court with her shoes off and eating a sandwich, just to let you know who was running the court. And Lauren Bacall, you remember her from the old days of Bogey and Bacall?
Oh, yeah. Bogey and Bacall.
Her estate sold her condo in New York. It was only a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, very modest. And it went for the price of $21 million.
Ooh, boy.
Which is actually $3 million more than a 17-acre property on the beach in Florida called Mar-a-Lago. 55 bedrooms, 33 bathrooms, 20,000 screen ballroom, pickleball courts, tennis courts, mini golf course, and shares the water with the inland waterway and the ocean. But that's only $3 million less than Lauren's estate got. So they outdid Mar-a-Lago by $3 million. Now remember Letitia James when she said, as a campaigner, she's going to go after Trump.
Yes.
And I want to give you an update on the $394 million. You must add $59 million because that was her next figure. The current number is $454 million that they want off of Trump, not $394 million. 59 more million in 1 week. Now, we have a thing called the Eighth Amendment in the Constitution of the United States, excessive fines, punishments, etc.
Yes.
Donald Trump's not only going to win in the United States Supreme Court under the Eighth Amendment, he's going to actually get a judgment against New York State.
Yeah.
He's going to win.
Yeah.
Because no one could come up with fines like that. Well, they said she basically said 840 Wall Street is worth $225 million. Well, 840 Wall Street is 70 stories in New York City, heading towards the Wall Street district, fully leased, and you're comparing that with 2 vacant lots in Palm Beach that are $180 million and $120 million for $300 million. So those 2 vacant lots in Palm Beach are worth more than 840 Wall Street, filled with banks and businessmen and condos and everything else. I mean, who is running this show?
That does make you question that. It really does. Yeah.
I mean, that's a 200. If you're selling one condo in New York for $21 million, and that's the building where John Lennon, lived and the other people lived, and you're valuing a 70-floor skyscraper at $225 million, and it doesn't match up against 2 vacant lots Mar-a-Lago's valuation of $18 million. We call that silly times. And when that goes to the Supreme Court, they are going to have realtors and they're going to have bankers, and the bankers are going to say, if there was buyers for Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, they would be lined up to Savannah, Georgia, trying to get there.
That's right. Hey, we'll get a group together. We'll buy Mar-a-Lago for $18 million. What do you think?
Well, Alan Dershowitz said, I'll buy it now.
Yeah.
18 million cash, he said.
Yeah,
he was willing to give it, right? But you got to give it to me today. I'll give you 18 million cash. It's just the silliness in how they're going after him with ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It does. If everybody looks at the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, excessive fines, excessive jail time, and everything else, I would go, forget the appeals in New York, because you're going to lose to the liberal courts. But if you go right to the Supreme Court and present this in front of Justice Thomas and Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh and even Roberts and definitely Alito, they're gonna basically say, even the liberal judges are going to say, yes, this is ridiculous. $18 million for a 55-bedroom house on the ocean in Palm Beach when vacant lots are selling for $300 million? No.
Yeah. It just it does make you question the whole thing. Thanks for the call, Dan. Again, 609-407-1450. That's our number here in the studio. 609-407-1450. Hour number 2 is rapidly coming to a close. In hour number 3, Joe Biden. What will he do next? Well, I don't even think he knows because he forgot. We're going to talk about, he keeps trying the student loan forgiveness. I thought that was like declared unconstitutional. So now he's bringing out this other plan. 153,000 student loan borrowers, letting them know that their $1.2 billion, that's billion with a B, the loans have been forgiven. According to President Biden, when people have student debt relief, they buy homes, they start businesses, they contribute. So far, 7.5 million people are enrolled in this program. It's called, I think, SAVE. And according to this program, a single borrower earning less than $15 an hour will be spared from payments. Gee, I'll tell him I'm earning less than $15 an hour. Conservative groups and Republican lawmakers have vehemently opposed this student debt relief efforts, again, questioning the authority to wipe away billions of dollars in money owed to the federal government. $1.2 billion is what he's forgiving. Now, I don't know how he got around this problem of it being declared unconstitutional, but he's trying again. He's trying again to bring out this. Again, this is buying votes. Plain and simple, buying votes. But if you make $15 an hour or less, you'll be spared from payments. I'm telling you, this is really too much. So that's what Joe Biden is doing. And coming up in the third hour, we're going to talk about another impeachment hearing. President Biden's brother, James, he's involved in this inquiry into Biden's impeachment. He says, oh, Joe didn't know anything about Hunter's business dealings. What? Oh, no. And yet, how come Hunter was with Joe many times while he was in Ukraine or wherever he was? He was on Air Force One or whatever, wherever he was. Hunter was there with Joe. So he doesn't know anything about that? Find that curious. Oh, yeah. And you know what else we'll talk about in the next hour? Remember Tony Bobulinski? Oh, yes. Yeah, he's involved in this hearing with Jim Biden. So it gets juicy. As I like to say, the plot thickens. It really thickens. So we'll talk about that in the next hour. And your calls, of course, at 609-407-1450. I'm John DeMasi. Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hour number 2 in the books. Hour number 3 on the way. Don't go away.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
5.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 presents Talk with a Purpose. Join the conversation by calling 609-407-1450. Now the host of Talk with a Purpose, John DeMasi.
Hour number 3, Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon. On WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and also heard on 1450 AM and also heard online at WPGTalkRadio.com. A lot to talk about again in this hour.
John, number 2 here.
Speaking of the president, we were talking about Joe Biden and his student loan forgiveness again. His younger brother James was questioned in a lengthy opening statement at the start of a deposition for the House Republican-led impeachment inquiry. James Biden said Joe Biden had no role in any of his business dealings, I guess that's James' business dealings, that are now under scrutiny. According to James Biden, I have had a 50-year career in a variety of business ventures. Joe Biden has never had involvement or any direct or indirect financial interest in those activities. None. That's what James Biden said. You find that hard to believe? I do. In the meantime, Tony Bobulinski, remember him? Has become one of the few witnesses to say that Joe Biden was aware of his family members' business activities. So who do you believe? Bobulinski or Biden? That's the question we're now posing. And you may want to chime in on that. 609-407-1450. Bobulinski or Biden? That's pretty good, alliteration there. Bobulinski or... let's go back to the phones. Bob is back in Cape May, Florida, wherever he is. He's not in Cape May. Come on.
Hey, good morning, John. Look, Tony Bobulinski absolutely is believable. Okay, in October of 2020, Bobulinski was interviewed by Tucker Carlson, and it was out there. The information that Biden was lying about his business associations with his son and his brother, it was out there 4 years ago. But the dishonest media in this country censored it. It was completely censored. Social media, when Twitter was not owned by Elon Musk yet, Facebook, that corrupt organization, it was all censored. So, the media is still so corrupt. The only reason they're not going to censor it now is because leaders of the Democrat Party, meaning Barack Obama, may want to get rid of Biden, and then of course they'll throw all this out there. But I just want to talk, John, really about the legalized stealing that was authorized by this Judge Erdogan, or
Engeron, I think.
Engeron. Yeah, the Larry David lookalike. Right, what has happened to our country when a court can just confiscate for totally made up allegations? I mean, this is really a scary scenario, John. Where private property can just get confiscated because of political views. I don't think the practices of the left-wing Democrat Party, they're not much different than what happened under the Soviet communists. Private property no longer exists. And, John, I tell you, in my own case, okay, I think I was subjected to government taking my property. And I'll explain this to you. And the great Walter Williams, who was an economist at George Mason University, a black man who was on talk radio in Philadelphia a lot, he used to say that government taxation, government policy is just legalized stealing in a lot of ways. And I'll tell you, in my own instance here, before Jim McGreevey came, New Jersey had no room tax. We just had a sales tax. So in my business, when you rented a room, you got charged whatever the state sales tax was, 6% at the time. Okay. Then Jim McGreevey had the bright idea to institute a room tax, and it's 5% to the state, and the rest of it goes up to 8% to local municipalities. So, in effect, I just got a business partner.
Yeah.
Right. They're taking. See, my customers just have a finite ability to pay. Okay?
Yes, that's right.
So they are taking. So they just took. At the time, I think it was the room tax was 7%. Okay. So they just decided, okay, you have now because we're passing this law, we get to take 7% of Bob Progner's profits, and that's what happened. Okay, now, and I think it was just last year, the Jackals on Cape May City Council, they just upped the local room tax to the maximum, which is 3%. So now all of a sudden, again, legalized stealing. That's what it is, okay? Legalized stealing, and that's where our country has come down to.
Yeah, that's a shame. You had a partner who didn't contribute any money.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
I had a friend of mine who passed away last year. Was in the business a long time, right? And he said, Bob, and he said this to me, Bob, we just got a partner.
Yeah.
When McGreevey passed this room tax.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's unfortunately that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
we have. If we went back to our constitutional roots, we went back to what made this country an economic powerhouse. We really limit the size of government. We limit the taxation taking place because it's all an impingement on our freedom. That's all it is, basically.
Bob, thanks for the call again. John in Ocean City. John, good morning. Welcome back.
Just ask James Biden. He'll tell you. James will tell you. Joe Biden had nothing to do and had no knowledge of Hunter Biden's business deals.
No.
Hey, he was seen on golf courses with Devin Archer, seen in nightclubs with Devin Archer, seen in photo ops with Devin Archer. Devin Archer, by the by, was the guy that got Hunter his job on Burisma, on the board of directors of Burisma.
Yeah.
But that doesn't prove anything.
No.
He wasn't as demented then. He's not going to be able to pull that. He's too demented to stand trial, but he can still run our country, right? It's insane. I tell you. It was Vladimir Posner, who was he used to appear on Phil Donahue sometimes, but he was a Russian American. He lived back and forth in America and Russia, and he became a talk show, a kind of a Donahue equivalent over in Russia. And he says, I'm more afraid of the post-Soviet era. And the reason why is that during the Soviet era, the citizenry or the regular people of Russia, they didn't like our government, but they didn't hold it against us. But now he says they just hate America altogether. So these politicians make enemies for we the people overseas. And those countries, the people of those countries are coming over our border right now. No big deal, right? Hey, they can go hide in those bug-out shelters over in Colorado, right? Hey, they're the mushroom people. They're the ones that eat bullcrap. But no, we're the mushroom people because they feed us bullcrap. They keep us in the dark and feed us bullcrap. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But a quote from John Lennon: "There's UFOs over New York, and I ain't so surprised. Mama never told me there were days like these. Strange days indeed." Thanks.
All right, John. Thanks for the call. No, Joe Biden didn't know anything about Hunter's business dealings. Didn't know anything about the family's business dealings. Okay. As I said, who do you believe, Bobulinski or Biden? That's the question. Speaking of Donald Trump, the Trump approach to illegal immigration is heating up as we lead up to the election later on this year. Trump pledges that as president, he would immediately launch the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. How about that? As a model, he points to an Eisenhower-era program known as Operation Wetback. That was then. That wouldn't be called that now, that's for sure. The operation used military tactics to round up and remove migrant workers. Former administration officials and policy experts said staging an even larger operation today would face a bottleneck in detention space, a problem that Trump advisor Stephen Miller and other allies have proposed building mass deportation camps. So, supposedly, if elected, Trump will start these deportation policies right away. And boy, do we need it. What do you think of that? Another reason to re-elect Donald Trump. I mean, re-elect. He was president once before. 609-407-1450, another rare moment in the show where we have some open lines. So feel free to jump in here on anything that's on the table. Do you believe Tony Bobulinski or Joe Biden? I mean, Joe Biden knew nothing about family business dealings. Of course not. The Trump illegal immigration approach, that's good. The student loan forgiveness for Donald Trump. And we talked about this early in the show, and I'll try to pronounce her name properly. Fani Willis, the prosecutor in Georgia. Now Dan called a couple times, and one of the times he said there was a couple of hundred texts and so on and so forth. But supposedly their relationship was since 2022, but Trump hired a private investigator and found out that prosecutor Nathan Wade visited Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis at least 35 times in 2021. So that's supposedly when the affair started. Former President Trump's attorney, he had obtained cell phone records, including voice and text history, as well as location data for Wade's phone, according to a new court filing.
WPG.
Analysis found that a minimum, again, of 35 occasions where Mr. Wade's phone connected for an extended period to either one of those towers in close proximity to Willis' home address. Her home is in I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Hapeville, Georgia.
Hang on, you're next.
The data appears to contradict Willis' denial. So she says there was no affair in 2021. It wasn't until 2022. Who cares? But anyway, here's the point. She was having an affair, and it is a conflict of interest with her and the other prosecutor, who, by the way, was not an expert in criminal prosecution. She paid him a substantial amount of money. So we'll see. But I think Andy said it. She should be disbarred, and he should too. Tony and AC. Tony, good morning. Welcome.
Well, yeah, it's nice to be on. Thanks for taking my call. I hope Fanny gets Fanny. And I have an idea that there's a little gamesmanship that could be played there, however you call it. That the judge, who I'm really kind of disappointed, he was kind of milquetoast and was kind of a little scared because he contributed to her campaign for district attorney. I wonder if he's going to split the baby with the bathwater. Is that the term?
Yeah.
You know, let's say he kicks Fanny out, right, but retains the stud. What's his name, Wade?
Yes.
Kick him back, right? And that would be Wade's worst nightmare because now he's got to perform a duty that he's not qualified for.
Right. That's right.
Right.
He's never prosecuted a criminal case. Yeah.
Right. So I've been wondering. I hope that's the case, that he dumps her but keeps him, and he'd have to resign, otherwise get embarrassed.
Yeah. Just the fact that you just told me something I didn't know. I didn't know that the judge contributed to Fannie Willis's campaign.
Well, I heard that from one of the reporters on the radio.
Yeah.
It wasn't a caller, but it was someone on TV, sitting behind a desk or behind a microphone.
Yeah.
My memory isn't that good.
Yeah, well, it's still a conflict of interest, no matter where it came from. If that's the case, that's a conflict of interest.
Right. I wonder why he's sitting up on the court.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Which is why maybe you can't believe everything you hear.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bet my life on it, but I'm telling you 100% I heard it on the TV.
Yeah.
And I have another idea. Fanny's father, right? Floyd, Mr. Floyd. Now, he is the epitome of a black, high-ranking lawyer in Blackstone. In other words, he was out in South America with Nelson Mandela, right?
Yes.
And I have an idea, if Fanny gets booted, that she and her father, Floyd, are going to start some kind of lawyer doing torts or looking for ways to persecute white people in government or white real estate people, looking for ways to make really outrageous lawsuits against white people.
Yeah, but
he's like in the upper, when you hear him speak, he's very smart, very glib, right, with a bias, and that would be the perfect opportunity for the two of them to create havoc like Letitia James is doing in New York.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Tony. Thanks for the call. Oh, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Not a bad theory. George and AC we'll get to after the break. We're coming up on a break. So, George, hang in there. We'll get to you right after the break. Talk for the purposes of the show, Saturdays, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. More of the show and your calls in just a moment.
If you're interested in driving one of the finest automobiles on the market today, then you'll want to check out all of the fabulous new and pre-owned Lexus at Lexus of Atlantic City. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Driving a Lexus is like no other vehicle on the market. Test drive one for yourself at Lexus of Atlantic City. Whether it's new or pre-owned, you'll be more than satisfied. In fact, Lexus is consistently #1 when it comes to customer satisfaction. Visit Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. Or you can check out their outstanding selection of new, pre-owned, and L-certified pre-owned vehicles on their website, LexusofAtlanticCity.com. That's LexusofAtlanticCity.com. Or if you want more information, call 609-641-0008. Lexus of Atlantic City, now celebrating their 26th year in the area. A dealership that you'll enjoy. No pressure, no gimmicks, no hassle, no hype. Lexus of Atlantic City, 3169 Fire Road in EHT. And remember, always online at lexusofatlanticcity.com.
We are back here on Talk with a Purpose. And again, if you want to email me during the week, jdadv1@comcast.net. jdadv1@comcast.net. And you can send me anything you want. We'll take them all on. And appreciate your input, too. jdadv1@comcast.net. Going back to the phones, George is back. George and AC, welcome back.
If I email you, I can send you anything I want. How about if I try to send you a pound of 20s?
I'll take it. I'll take a pound of 100s, too.
Oh, don't get greedy. Anyway, Fannie Willis. Okay, Fannie with the big Fannie Willis. I'm not sure with my numbers, but I believe that private investigator was able to determine that there were 12,000 text messages prior to the date that those two clowns, meaning Fannie Willis and her boyfriend Wade, made prior to what they stated on the stand. Okay, so they're going to both get thrown off. I mean, assuming the judge does the honorable thing, which is what judges are supposed to be. Honorable, right? Okay,
yes.
So let's see what happens. But that's not the reason that I called. The most important thing to this campaign coming up for Donald J. Trump, which, God willing, I'm hoping and praying that this man becomes our 47th president.
Yes.
Okay. The most important person in the Trump campaign, in my opinion, is going to be Laura Trump. Okay, because Laura is going to be co-chair of the Republican National Committee, and apparently it is already being stated that she is going to mount the largest mail-in or voter register, all the stuff that Craig Calloway does, all right, beating them at their own game nationwide. Okay? Now, look, hey, the laws are on the books in so many states regarding these messenger ballots. And so one of the Fox hosts, I don't remember which one it was, I think it might have been Gutfeld, I don't know, one of them said you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Okay? And so now the Democrats, for years and years, have been using this messenger and voter ballot system, as far as I'm concerned, to screw up the elections in their favor. Okay, but there apparently is a legal way to do it, and Laura Trump is going to head that effort, and they're going to beat the Democrats at their own game on a nationwide level, and she is apparently going to be the one that is conducting that nationwide campaign.
Yeah, I've heard that, yes.
All right, so she is the key to this thing, and so there is a legal way to do this ballot harvest thing, and so she's going to bring a gun to this gunfight. All right, so God willing, take advantage of the situation. The Democrats have been doing it. Republicans need to understand that they have to get out and do the early vote the way the Democrats have been doing it.
Yeah.
We cannot depend upon ourselves getting to the polls on election day. For all of these states that allow this to be done, 30 days in advance and all this other whatever they do. We have to beat them at their own game and do it legally.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Laura Trump is the key to this thing. God willing, we need to beat them at their own game.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
That's right. Thanks for the call, George, again. Amen to that. Got to do it. Speaking of Democrats, Republicans, back to this ruling, and again, I apologize for, I said the Supreme Court. It's the Alabama Supreme Court. Do you think this ruling could hurt Republicans? Because here's what, frozen embryos are people. Okay, that aside. I really don't understand, but I can see that the Democrats, well, they're going to use everything they can. I mean, let's face it. Trump gets in there, he's a dictator, and they take away your reproductive rights. They're taking away abortion, and now the frozen embryos are people, and the next thing you know, everything will be taken away. Your liberties will be taken away. Come on, that's not true. That's not true. This whole thing, it's the scare tactics of people, and what the Democrats have done and will continue to do is try to scare people.
Sure, what's your name?
And here's what they're doing again.
I'm sorry, what was that? I lost
The Republicans, they're attacking our freedoms. They're going to do it. Well, that was, look, the 2022 midterms. That was scare tactics, a staple of the Democrats. Stephanie in Ocean City, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to add a couple points to the conversations of the show today.
Yes.
One of the things you asked about Joe Biden's impeachment and who he agreed with, one of the names I want to bring up is a figure skater, a Russian figure skater by the name of Alexander Smirnov.
Yes.
He actually was arrested twice for supposedly lying. He's an FBI agent, and if we look at his history, from 2010, 2011, 2012, all the way to 2020, he actually testified in court, in federal court, but he didn't lie then. So those are some court cases I think we should be looking at and see what he testified for and see why now supposedly he is a liar. One of the other things you talked about was the migration of the immigrants, the illegals coming over. Yeah, one of the things, I actually called our representatives here and talked about in 2021 about the illegals being in Fort Dix. Well, we just had a bus from San Diego that took some illegals on an airplane, and they're coming here to New Jersey. So now in New Jersey, our governor has them all over our state. And that's some other things I think we need to look at. And I guess another thing is, we're talking about ballot harvesting and all this stuff with this person saying we should ballot harvest and Republicans. The bottom line is, I'm a we the people person. We the people need to go to our county clerks and say, no. We want paper ballots. We want Democrat, Republican, and independent representatives watching the tabulations of any votes. Live cam, there we have it. It's game over. It only costs about $100,000, not these $15 million for these electric voting machines.
Yeah.
And I guess, like I said, I'm a we the people person. I talked to you a couple weeks ago. I'm still waiting for our verdict in the Supreme Court from our amicus that we the people did. And the other thing I brought up is, we have a big problem right now, Julian Assange. The verdict in England is going to come out. If he goes down for exposing war crimes, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So those are the things I just wanted to add to the show today. And like I said, that's where I pretty much stand. And that's all I need to say.
Thanks for the call, Stephanie. Appreciate it. 609-407-1450. Got some open lines. You want to jump in here on anything? We got about a half hour left of the show. 609-407-1450. Good call from Stephanie. But back to this thing, we have constantly said that Joe Biden he's got to know about Hunter's business dealings. He's got to know about his family and their dealings, his brother, and so on and so forth.
All right, Howard, hang on, get you next.
And this, James Biden testifies, says, "Oh no, we don't have no." Well, maybe he did tell Joe, but Joe doesn't remember. You ever think of that? That's a convenient thing. Memory loss. Howard and EHT. Howard, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, John. Hey, listen, this whole thing has brought something to my mind, but I'm not the one that originated it. I heard it before. And I'm wondering, they need a fourth part of the government. They got the legislation, they got the executive, they got the judicial, but they need a fourth. And the fourth would be the economic. I mean, they need somebody to tell these judges and lawyers and everyone making these decisions about the economics, about what they're talking about. I mean, lawyers are not trained in economics or real estate. I mean, they buy houses, they live in them, they rent apartments, they know about it. But obviously, there seems to me there should be somebody with authority be able to go in there and say, yo, these numbers are totally wrong, and have the authority to be listened to. I'm not saying corruption can't get people all the time, but what Trump has brought out is how ridiculous they are with economics. As simple as that. They just have no. They're using this magic stuff to create. They're just coming up with this stuff. Well, you're affecting the poor people, huh? What? Yeah. Well, they need somebody that comes in there with some authority and says, "Look, this is not right. This is not the correct line of thinking with economics."
How about a watchdog department? How about that?
Well, they all are watchdogs, aren't they? They're all one side's supposed to be watching the other side.
Yeah.
With the executive, the judicial, the legislative. They don't, we know that they are not doing it. We know they have figured out every avenue to get through everything, just about.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that there may end up being a fifth one. Who knows? Maybe one on transsexuals or something. Another one. You got it. Right?
That's coming. Yeah, that's coming.
Yep. Obviously, there seems to be a difficulty there. That the part that wants to prove that women can be men and men can be women. Yeah. They want to make sure that we all. Well, we may not believe it, but they want us to at least take our hats off to it and say you're right. That's it. It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. But what can I tell you? That's Yeah. All right, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for the call, Howard. Linda is back. Linda and Absecon, welcome back.
I love the third hour. I love it when you do 3 hours.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You have a good show.
Thank you.
So John, have you ever heard of the snowflake children, snowflake babies?
No.
Well, George W., excuse me, he had a picture of him and a group of snowflake children. Well, the snowflake children, they were from the embryos. You see, there were these embryonic stem cell lines. The embryonic stem cell lines. So, and so science really wanted to get their hands on the embryonic stem cells, and so Bush, very pro-life Probably. I think he may be the only one in his family. And so what happens is he let a few lines go for the science woman. For the, I guess, the sake of science, they wanted the embryonic stem cell, the baby ones. So he let a few lines go. And what they found, what science found out, is by using the embryonic stems. This is so. I hate to use the word appropriate, but it is so sick. What science found out is by taking these embryos and using them, what they found out is they had to be called, they called them radicals, because they would use the embryonic stem cells in their studies, and you know what would happen? Maybe a foot would grow out of somebody's brain.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, or maybe, so they couldn't be used after all. You know, you keep messing with God's life, right?
Ooh.
Not smart. And I hope they don't insult, because there's probably an awful lot of snowflake children. I hope they are mindful of them when they start criticizing them.
How about that? A foot growing out of a brain. Oh boy, that's
a toe growing out of a kidney. They couldn't rely on the results of their studies that these particular stem cells, embryonic, would react as they wanted them to. So it was all to no avail.
Boy, that's tough.
Yeah. So I hope I made a convert out of you.
Well, I just was surprised that
they're humans.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You know, now I know it. Mm-hmm. Linda, thank you for educating me. 609-407-1450. We're coming up on a break. We'll have Andy after the break, and maybe you. It'll be wall-to-wall calls from now until the end of the show. 609-407-1450. It is Talk with a Purpose every Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I'm John DeMasi. We'll come back with more of your calls after these words.
Chances are you've tasted the delicious fruits and vegetables from B.F. Mazzio, but didn't know it. That's because B.F. Mazzio has a huge wholesale division that delivers to area restaurants, schools, hospitals, and more. If you own a restaurant or run a commercial kitchen, call B.F. Mazzio's wholesale division at 609-641-6608. That's 609-641-6608. And don't forget B.F. Mazzio at 601 New Road in Northfield. Call 609-641-6608.
Your WPG Talk Radio 95.5 AccuWeather forecast for South Jersey. For this afternoon, cloudy most of the time with high 46. But you'll see some stars tonight. Clear, colder with that low dip at a 19. Plenty of sunshine for tomorrow, high 46 to wrap the weekend. When you get back at it Monday, milder with clouds to start. Then sunshine returns with a high up to 61. I'm AccuWeather's Ruth O'Brien on WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
You want to listen to any of our shows at any time? Well, I've told you before. I'll tell you again. You Google John DeMasi Podcasts, and all of the shows come up. That's like 200 and some. And you can just pick and choose what you like. You miss any of the shows, you just, anytime, anywhere. That's it. I tell you, it's an amazing invention. It's called the radio version of On Demand, and I love it. 609-407-1450 is our number here. Let's go back to Andy in Brigantine. Andy, good morning. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's still a great day in Brigantine, John.
Yes, it is.
So to the caller who thought it was preposterous that Donald Trump might go and speak with Vladimir Putin and broker a peace deal, who do you think has a better shot at ending or bringing to an end the war in Ukraine? Joe Biden, who this week called Putin a sick SOB, or Donald Trump, who got along with Putin and who was threatened by and who Putin was threatened by? Putin was asked who he'd want to have as president, and he said Biden. He was interviewed. They interviewed him this week. Who would you want to have as president? And he said they'd want to deal with Biden. Of course. So, by the way, the response was after Biden called Putin a sick SOB, Medvedev stepped up and said that Joe Biden was a useless old man. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So again, which guy has a better shot at bringing peace in Ukraine?
Definitely Trump. Definitely.
Toss that out there. Here's one for you. I don't know if Seth talked about this, and if he didn't, I'm surprised. There was a poll that showed that among New York Jews, New York Jewish voters, Donald Trump is ahead of Joe Biden by 9 points among New York Jewish voters. Now, John, we know for years, just like the African American community, they vote almost as a block for the Democrats.
Yes.
And it's the same with the Jewish population, almost as a block, vote Democrat. This is a real interesting turn of events. I don't know that they got into how this is happening, but I have to think it has something to do with what's been going on in Israel and all of this pro-Hamas, anti-Israel rhetoric and protesting that's going on. I said all along after this horrible event of October 7th in Israel that if there was going to be one good thing to come out of it, it would be that American Jews started waking up and seeing that the people they vote for, their policies are what brought about what took place in Israel on October 7th. So it's a good thing. Trump is leading among African Americans. He's leading among Hispanics. He's leading among Gen Zers. Unbelievable. The only, as Dick Morris described it, the four legs of the stool, the only leg that Trump doesn't have are the young single women. But that's all about the abortion issue. But
yeah.
A stool can't stand on one leg,
Yeah, well, so it looks promising. I'll say that. It looks promising.
Yeah, and people shouldn't get cocky and just assume, because look at what that got us in 2020.
Yeah.
There was going to be this big red wave that didn't happen. Here's one for you, John. I haven't heard anybody talk about this all week. Remember this advocate, this civil rights advocate, attorney, basically a troublemaker, Mr. Crump. He was the attorney for George Floyd's family when he died of a drug overdose.
Yes, I remember.
So Crump, he came out and said that crime has to be redefined. What is crime? It has to be redefined to basically fit the black culture. And so basically what he's saying is that what blacks consider to be crime doesn't necessarily fit with the way our laws are written. So they have to be changed to fit with the black community. So I don't know, John. I guess because we see what happens with all of this looting, I guess it's not considered crime because, after all, these are just people who are hungry and they're stealing to feed themselves. I don't know anyone, black, white, purple, green, who ever ate a 60-inch television. if you're stealing because you're hungry, I've never seen any black person eat a cell phone or a $1,000 jacket.
Yes.
So you're, but think of that we have to redefine what is a crime to fit with black culture.
Yes.
Imagine.
That's really ridiculous. Yeah. That's over the top. Thanks for the call again, Andy. Jeez. Frank and Ventnor. Frank, good morning. Welcome back.
Hey, John, can you hear me all right? I'm calling from my basement again. Is it coming through?
Yes, it's coming through.
So, and John, I have to say, now that Andy has exposed me that I actually analyze I think he said every show that's on, I may be a little bit late in getting my analysis of your show today. I'm backed up. I kind of have a lot of backup of other shows to do. So,
well, Andy is opinionated, and that's fine. But
yeah, I'm just wondering, why is he so concerned that I do this? It seems to bother him.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Maybe didn't he say he was on a radio show? Maybe someone did an analysis of his show and he didn't like it, and it's some lasting.
Well, I don't know. We worked together in radio many years ago, and it was not a talk station; it was a music station. So I don't know where that comes from.
Just not sure why he's bothered by that. But anyway, John, good show today. Have a good week.
You too. Thanks for the call. You love that little banter back and forth between the callers. Oh, well. John is back. John in Ocean City. Welcome back.
Yes, it's not a boring show, is it?
No, not at all. Believe me.
Yeah, I would give a shout out or add to the caller before Andy. I don't remember the gentleman's name as far as the fourth branch of government.
Howard. Howard was his
Howard.
name. Yeah.
Yes, Howard. Howard's idea of a fourth branch of government, an economic branch. Now we have the executive, legislative, and judicial, which are checks and balances. But why didn't the founders come up with a fourth branch of government being a financial branch? Because there was no need to. But now, this is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5. The Supreme Court has recognized Congress's coinage power to be exclusive. The Supreme Court has also construed Congress's power to coin money and regulate the value thereof, to authorize Congress to regulate every phase of currency. I'm sorry, but I don't want the 21st century Congress controlling my money. Not at all.
Neither do I. No, neither do I.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve has to be kicked out, man, because the Federal Reserve, if you go to the the Consumer Price Inflation Index calculator, it goes back to 1913 when the Federal Reserve was voted in circa December 23rd, 1913, and our dollar is worth less than 4 pennies now.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's right. So it made the stockholders very rich. And please don't make it into a great big Jewish conspiracy, because Isidore Strauss, who was 100% Jewish, said, no way, it's unconstitutional to have a bunch of foreign stockholders in Europe controlling our monies here in America. And, I think that the Titanic was deliberately sank. It was J.P. Morgan, who was not Jewish at all, who was one of the founding stockholders of the Federal Reserve, got that last-minute call, don't board the Titanic. They said it was an unsinkable vessel. How did they know? It was on its maiden voyage. How did they know it was an unsinkable vessel? It doesn't make sense to me. I heard from a fellow member of the conspiratorium that insurance money was put down on that ship. And Mr. Strauss and his wife just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was the target among other people, but that's my belief. And this idea of having a financial branch, we have people that know business. We have businessmen running the economy of our country, and we enforce impeachment the way it was meant to be enforced rather. If you don't do your job, if you're not up to par for the job, you get booted out. But that's how it used to be in America, but it ain't no more. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the call. 609-407-1450. Got a couple of minutes left to jump in here with whatever your thoughts are. 609-407-1450. Let's talk to Mike in Linwood. Mike, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hey, John. Hey, I hate to rain on everybody's parade, but I really, truly think when it's all said and done, if Trump is the candidate, he's going to wind up short.
Why?
And
why?
Why? Because the Democrats know how to win. And the Republicans don't know how to win.
I'll give you that.
They're going to come up with something. I'm telling you, they know what they're doing. They are always 2 steps ahead of the Republicans.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter how bad things are right now, and things are bad.
Yeah, they are.
With the economy, with the open borders, with the violence in this country, things are bad.
Yeah.
But I really think Trump is going to come up short. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think? What do you think he'd have to do to not come up short?
I don't think they know what to do. I mean, I think they already did a poll on college students, and Biden is up, I think, 4 or 5 points with college students.
Yeah.
So there's an example right there. He knows how to play. They know how to play the game. He's paying off student loans.
Yeah, that's one way. Yeah.
I mean, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
You're right. And Mike, thanks a lot for the call. And that's been my concern, that, all this momentum that Trump has now, it's good, but in the end, this is February, and the next week is March. We still have a long way to go. It's a long time between now and November, and I just don't. Mike has a point that. But how could you vote for Biden? I mean, really, how could you vote for Biden? I heard a report, and this is, I think this came from our Fox News network, that it costs $1,000 more. Now, think about this. It costs $1,000 more for whatever goods and services and all of that stuff than it did 3 years ago. Think about that. If you're on a fixed income or you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's a lot of money. $1,000 more. Thank you, Joe Biden. Inflation? I told you this story a couple weeks ago. I bought olive oil. And I didn't buy it at BF Mazzeo, unfortunately. But $34.99? I thought they were giving out mortgage applications with that. What is it? They crazy? $34.99. And it was on sale. Crazy. Al in Corbin City. Al, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Couple things. I've been calling my congressman to find out are we setting ourselves up for ballot harvesting? I haven't got a call back yet. I don't, you can't come into an election 200,000 votes behind somebody because they have all these early ballots, and it's ridiculous that you don't have to ask for it. That they send them out to you. It's just another way of them cheating. But that being said, it's legal, and we should do it too. The other thing I wanted to ask you: what's going to happen since, say Biden leaves office? Are they going to say we go after? Not we, but the government goes after him for all the thieving that's going on. Obviously, there's provable that he took money. And they're going to say, "Oh no, he's too old and he's too feeble to sit there." And if I did that, I don't care how feeble. I don't care if I was in a nursing home with dementia. They'd be taking me.
That's right.
Put me right in jail.
That's right.
Now, how is it that he can skip because no prosecutor will? Every time it's a Democrat, no prosecutor. Hillary Clinton, no prosecutor would. When she violated so many laws, it was ridiculous.
It's definitely a double standard, yeah. No question about it.
And they want to know why people are disgusted.
Yeah.
And as far as the gentleman about the students, he's all wrong. He's not up that much. In fact, he's not up that at all, really. They're about broke even as far as people voting for him because they're disgusted with him because he's not pro. A lot of them are, pro Hamas.
Yeah.
And they're really not a big voting bloc. They're not a big voting bloc.
It's a small voting bloc. Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the bigger voting bloc is the blue collar worker.
Yes.
Young blue collar workers.
Yes.
And they're disgusted.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be.
So, So you're right. It's March. It's a long way to November.
Yeah.
But we got to get our act together as a party.
Yes.
Or else we're,
no question about that.
I agree with that what he said.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for the call, Al. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Final call of the morning, Steve in Mays Landing. Steve, good morning. Welcome to Talk with a Purpose.
Hi, John. My name is Steve. I'm on the board of Liberty and Prosperity, so Seth and I know each other pretty well.
Okay.
But we disagree often, and that's just part of the process. But and that's how you kind of make sausage. That's how you test your theories and your positions. Right. So, but what I want to talk about is what Stephanie called in about, and I agree with her in terms of the elections and election integrity. And I put together two websites, SeymourFacts.com, and the other one is electionsdeclassified.com.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to go there because I've got some stuff up there that, especially the latest one, that people really need to look at. One is a video presentation by a Dr. Frank, who explains how the elections were manipulated and the voter rolls were manipulated and how that's key. And the other one is this recent one, February 23rd, a Gateway Pundit article where the title is, Will President Trump Lose to Mail-in Ballots and Bad Advice Again? So anyway, it's self-explanatory, but to give you a summary, Atlantic County uses a system to clean voter rolls called ERIC. They just brought it in. They're real proud of it. But there's a lot of problems with ERIC, and counties all over the country are dropping it.
Yeah.
And they're replacing it with this thing. It's a fractal system. It's put up by Omega for Americans. So this talks about that, and it's a quick and easy way to really help improve the integrity of our elections. And then there's other stuff on there about the machines and same day voting and all that. There's quite a bit.
Steve, will you do me a favor? Would you email me those websites? Email me at jdadv1@comcast.net. And I want
ADV1?
Yes, at Comcast.net.
Okay.
Do that.
Thanks for
thanks for calling. Boy, what a show, huh? We really got the calls in there. I'll tell you. Did we solve any problems today? Yeah, of course we did. Sure. Thanks to Chris Coleman, our program director and producer, for doing his usual excellent job. He was busy answering those phones today. And thanks to you, because I told you before, without you, there's no show. There's no me. Okay? I'm John DeMasi. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Talk with a Purpose, Saturday, 9 till noon, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You take care.
The preceding program was paid for and presented by John DeMasi.